Hello, this is Danielle Yawowiecka with the BBC News. President Biden has promised to lead a global alliance of democratic countries against emerging autocracies at the start of his first overseas trip as US president. He was speaking to members of the US Armed Forces shortly after arriving in Britain for a G7 summit. Paul Adams reports.
Joe Biden's visit to RAF Mildenhall was brief, but he used his speech to set out his stall at the start of what promises to be a complex, challenging week of diplomacy. The US, he said, was back, standing together with like-minded democracies, ready to meet the challenges of the 21st century, the global pandemic and the growing dangers posed by climate change. He talked about next week's much-anticipated meeting with Vladimir Putin, where he said he would let the Russian leader know what I want him to know, a line greeted with a huge cheer. The world, he said, was at an inflection point. It was up to democratic leaders to prove themselves and discredit those who believe that democracy is dead.
Lawyers for the Russian opposition activist Alexei Navalny say they will appeal against a court ruling that in effect bans his political movement. Judges in Moscow classified organisations linked to Mr. Navalny as extremist. Supporters face being barred from running for public office, with parliamentary elections due to take place in September. A plan to build an oil pipeline nearly 2,000 kilometres long between Canada and the United States has been officially cancelled. President Biden had revoked a permit needed for a stretch of the pipeline in the US on his first day in office. Here's Peter Bowes.
The Keystone XL pipeline has had a checkered history. After being rejected by President Barack Obama, Donald Trump revived the project in 2017. Environmentalists and Native American groups had fought against it for more than a decade, but others, including some Democrats, argued that it would have created energy sector and construction jobs for American workers. In a statement, the developer, Calgary-based TC Energy, said it was disappointed but would dismantle its equipment and work towards a safe end to the project.
The United Nations is warning that after decades of decline, child labour is rising worldwide. The number of children working has reached an estimated 160 million. The figures date from before the pandemic. The UN says school closures and the global economic downturn will force millions more children into work. Guy Ryder is Director General of the International Labour Organization.
We estimate that the pandemic has put 108 million people and their families into working poverty. Well, in those circumstances, the danger is that people have resort to child labour almost as a survival strategy. And our estimations show that unless we act to stop it, we could see a further increase until the end of 2022.
World News from the BBC. Final results from a scientific trial in Indonesia to combat dengue fever show it can be sharply reduced by an experimental technique using bacteria. Scientists in the city of Yogyakarta released millions of mosquito eggs infected with Wolbachia, which is harmless to humans but prevents the insects from passing on dengue. Results show a 77% cut in infections. The world's biggest meat processing company, JBS, has admitted it paid an $11 million ransom to resolve a major cyber attack. Hackers caused several of the Brazilian firm's plants to shut down nearly 2 weeks ago. The chief executive of JBS's operations in the US described the decision to pay as painful, but said it was the right thing to do. The United States has sanctioned 4 Nicaraguan citizens with close links to President Daniel Ortega. They include his daughter, Camila Ortega Murillo, who runs a pro-government television channel. The 4 will be banned from doing business with American companies, and any assets they have in the US will be seized. The announcement follows the recent arrests of 4 opposition politicians who'd planned to run against Mr. Ortega in November's presidential elections. Ned Price is the US State Department spokesman.
Let the people exercise their free will. Let a free and fair election go forward. That is what we are striving to help bring about. Nothing more and nothing less than the ability of the Nicaraguan people to choose their own destiny and to exercise their own free will. It's a right to which the Nicaraguan people are guaranteed and to which all people are guaranteed.
The International Monetary Fund is due to hold talks with the leader of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, after his country became the first in the world to make Bitcoin legal tender. President Bukele insists the decision does not change economic fundamentals. He says it will allow Salvadorans living overseas to send money home more easily. Some analysts have suggested that making cryptocurrency legal tender could threaten a long-planned IMF programme. BBC News.